Hey, hello, welcome to this Monday Live. Let me know if you can hear me clearly. I'm here to answer your questions. And for every Monday, there's always a theme, okay? And today, I'm inspired by a consulting call that I did in the morning, which is we were talking about a kid who is like 2.5 years old who doesn't know how to speak yet. And the parents were basically telling me what they should do. Well, they're asking me what they should do in order to help their kids, help their child start to talk, right? So today I'm going to tell you the most important thing that I think a lot of parents loves to actually ask me, and it's one of the things that a lot of parents just have in their mind, and which is do children of speech delay or language delay or whatever, do they catch up, right? And um, this is something that I struggle with when I just started as a therapist to answer, because it's very hard. I mean, it's very difficult to know whether a child will or will not catch up. All right. So let's just talk about the how it happens in my mind and how I try to tell parents about this thing. All right. So number one thing is that I'm going to start saying, you're going to start thinking about how severe the child is. Okay. If your child is like totally nonverbal at around 5, then there's a high chance that it's going to take much longer to catch up. And if you didn't know, I had an interview with one of my students who is 30 years old, right? And hey Lena, how are you? Yeah. And then we talked about how she caught up until now, right? And we also have other students who are around like 13, 14, who are actually doing operating at a pretty similar level for language, right? So do children actually catch up? We need to look at the severity, right? How old are they? Are they talking? How much are they talking? And therefore, you will think about, okay, are they going to catch up or not? Okay. And the thing is, if there is a label about autism spectrum disorder, right, you need to have expectation that the path will be different. Okay. It's not about catching up or not. It's just that, is there a way to make them cope with, living on their own, having a career, having, a romantic relationship, these kind of things down the line. It's not just about like speech and language milestones, right? It's much more than what I'm doing as a therapist, right? So you have to think about that. Okay, severity, what it is. Okay, is there speech? Is there autism spectrum disorder? Is there like speech disorders like apraxia of speech? And in the Facebook group and also on my page, also on the YouTube, actually, I do talk about some pages that are children who used to be children, who are adults now, who have apraxia of speech, and now they still are struggling and trying to combat and cope with about how to speak clearly because of apraxia. Okay, so there are a whole spectrum of people we're talking about, and if your child right now is around 2 or 3 and he or she is already like speaking in 2 words or like even in words, you have a good chance. Okay, so let's talk about those population first. All right, at any time, please stop me if you have any questions. I know some parents are coming on who are in the micro course and they have some questions for me, and I'm just gonna, if you say hi, I'm gonna answer a question here. All right, or else I'm just gonna keep on going. All right, and if you don't know what the micro course is, it's basically like a distilled version of all the advice I give parents have been useful, and I just put it inside like a little course so that I don't need to repeat myself 100 times, right? Okay, so children who are around 2 to 3 and they haven't spoken yet, it boils down to, do we know their true ability, right? Are you able to sit them down and make them say some words and test how much they can actually talk? Okay, so if the ability is around if their ability is around like 1 word, let's say that they can actually imitate a word at like 2 to 3 years old, I think there is a good chance that the progress will be, there is a progress, because you can actually teach something, right? And this is what a lot of therapists will call dynamic assessment, right? It's a crazy word. It means nothing to anyone, even myself. It just means that how teachable your child is. All right. If your child is teachable, it reacts well to a certain method, then you can think of that you can teach them anything. It's just a matter of time. Okay. You just don't know when. Okay. So there are some children that I know of are not receptive to like ABA. Okay. No matter how much you try, it doesn't work, apparently, which I only heard of it. I never tried. Okay. I've also seen children who have been doing the same goal over and over and over again for like a few months or like even a year. And obviously that means that the method doesn't work. Okay. So what do you do in that situation is that you try to find a better way. Okay. And if a therapist is stuck there and, you get very unhappy about it, then go change something about it. Right. Because then you're not going to catch up. Right. So, so that's that population for like 2 to 3 years old, right? Who can actually say something. And in my mind, there are some different types of children. Okay. If we're talking about children who can actually talk, but their pronunciation is really bad, then you have to think about whether it's apraxia or, just simple old speech sound disorders, which is articulation, or it might be like dysarthria or something, right? So dysarthria means like there's a low muscle, there's a muscle weakness or something that prevents them from saying it correctly. All right. So in my opinion, okay, if you want to quote me, please don't, because I cannot find anything. I've been searching on the internet and searching through, different papers about like what to say and how to answer the questions of parents over here. And from my experience and my opinion, right, very heavily opinionated, is that apraxia speech will take much longer to actually see some results. All right. Whereas, very simple speech sound disorders where, they cannot do some L sounds, some S sounds or whatever, those are quite easy in my opinion. Okay. And dysarthria, where, there's a weakness in their mouth, then I think that, it depends on how you treat it. Okay. Not everyone knows how to like identify and then treat it, right? So at the end of the day, it really depends, as I always say. Okay. But there are more severe disorders. All right. So for instance, let's talk about children who are, they don't really know how to explain themselves. Maybe they're like 3 to 4 years old, and then they don't know how to explain themselves. They're talking really short. They can't really answer like why and how questions, those kind of, question types, which requires them to think, right? If we're talking about these children, and you know who you are when I say this, right? They can say like 2 to 3 words per sentence, but if you ask them a little more, they kind of get stuck. Then these children actually, in my experience, in my opinion, they actually do quite okay. Okay, especially when they get to like primary school, they take a little more time, and you still can see the difference. All right, who has had a language delay? All right. Especially those who have a problem with what we call verbal reasoning. Okay. If you say, hey, why is the floor wet? If they cannot answer in a full sentence, then, by the time they're primary school, you will still see that, a little bit. You can see, you can tell in the classroom, you can tell. But it's not like their IQ has a problem. It's just that, language development is like from like 1 year old, like, I don't know, a few months. It's like a snowball, right? It keeps on rolling. If you start rolling at a later time, which is kind of late talker or whatever, or like a speech delay, then you will have it will take some time longer for them to catch up. Okay, yeah. So Nabil says, yes, my daughter cannot answer how questions. Yeah, so I'm telling you to expect that to roll over into primary school sometimes, right? And do you have to be worried? Yes and no. I mean, sometimes you will have to take it into your own hands and try to teach at home as much verbal reasoning as you want to. And we do this a lot in speech therapy with like board games, because it's fun and it requires them to think and stuff, right? So that's something you can think about. All right. So yeah. So when parents ask me, are they going to catch up? Like, are they going to get better? Yeah, of course they're going to get better. But the better way to think about it is there, it's going to be a long fight anyways, right? It's going to be a long fight anyways. We're not just talking about getting, correcting some speech sounds. We're talking about getting them to speak much longer and express themselves to the best of the extent that they can, right? So that means you're going to expect it to be a long, it's going to be a long fight, right? It's like you trying to live in a different society, like different like country, and learn a new language. You're not going to expect yourself to be fluent in like a year, right? You're not going to expect yourself to be able to like write in like 2 years time and go to university in 3 times. It's impossible. Okay, so think about it in that way. All right, even for yourself, you have to change, right? You have to learn something new. It's going to take some time, and especially for the children who are like delayed or disordered or whatever the thing is, right? Whatever the label is, yeah, they already have had a problem with like learning this type of like language, like rules of language, grammar, syntax, whatever, like sounds. Then you need to expect that it's going to be a longer run. Okay, so most of the time, if we're talking about like disorders, right, like what's that called, autism, ADHD, these type, it's more about coping, as I said before. Okay, so that pretty much sums up how I usually tell parents during like a clinic. Right, they come to me, we did an assessment, and then I'm like, oh yeah, your son is like this. He can say this, he can do that. He cannot do this, he cannot do that. And then the mom asks, okay, is there a chance that he's going to be like better or like normal? Well, if it's just like a few sounds that are missing, of course he's going to be normal. What are you on about, right? Or we shouldn't say normal, like typical. Okay, typically developing. Are they going to catch up to that, to the typical developing curve, right? Yeah, of course. If you're talking about like someone who can only say like 1 or 2 words, then you're gonna expect it to like carry through into like it's gonna carry through into primary school or maybe sometimes secondary. Okay, and we're talking about someone who cannot answer like how or why questions, problems with like verbal reasoning is gonna affect a lot. And the reason is here. Okay, the reason is like this: in kindergarten, children are learning to read. Okay, they're learning to read. All right. And how you need to learn to read is that you need to, first of all, understand the letters, right? You understand the letters. And then you also need to understand the words, or else you don't know that the word is equal to that letter, right? You also need to know the sounds. So given that, it's actually, you need to be able to like at least listen to a lot of things and able to speak, okay? And then you'll be able to read. Maybe you don't need to speak. I don't know. There's a lot of arguments about that because, for instance, English is a very, it's a very phonetic language, right? You read it and then the sound comes to your mind. Whereas like Chinese is just characters. Like there's different ways of saying it in different countries. So for instance, in like a Chinese character, you might have that word in Japanese and it sounds totally different or something similar to like when you say it in Mandarin Chinese, right? So there are a lot of these kind of things that people do talk about. But what I'm saying today is that generally someone has to learn how to listen and talk before they actually read and write, So in kindergarten, you're learning how to read, okay? And then in primary school, you're learning by reading, right? You're reading to learn, all right? Because there's a lot less like one-on-one time. The classroom is bigger. You're using books a lot more. You're reading to learn something, okay? You're not learning to read anymore. You're using reading as a tool to learn. Therefore, if your child has been having a problem with like auditory comprehension, then think about like reading. It's going to be a little bit more difficult for them, right? And if they cannot answer like how questions and why questions, then they can only get the literal meaning of a word. They cannot understand the inference. Okay, what I mean by inference is like, for instance, let me think, right? So it's not like literally written down there. You know what I'm saying? Like, for instance, the easiest way I like to explain what inferencing is for instance, if they see a comic, not even like words, right? A comic, like a drawn comic. For instance, if they see like some like smoke coming up, like lines, if the kid knows that it's hot because because of the smoke coming up. That's inferencing. They inference from the lines on the smoke, right? So that's something that's even more abstract when it's in words, because they have to understand the word, they have to understand the literal meaning, and then deeper meaning, which is like inferencing, and they're kind of guessing, right? So that's why they're gonna like fall behind a little bit even more, because the kids who get it will learn even more by reading, okay? And because your child has more problem like with learning by reading, they're gonna fall back a little more. But I'm not an expert at this, by the way. For me, I like teaching children from 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6, like just 2 to 6, right? That's my favorite. Yeah. But once it goes to primary school, things get quite difficult, because children get emotional, because they now can they're just smart. It's not like their IQ is much lower than or else they'd be in a special school, right? So they're smart enough to like start to compare. They're like, oh no, I cannot read or write as good as my classmates. I can't speak as well. So these kind of things, you also have to counsel them. Okay, and it's not like from 2 to 6, they're very like, you can use something to get their attention, like a toy or something. But when they're in primary school, you have to like tell them, oh, you're doing this because you're in speech therapy because you want to talk better with your classmates and stuff. So the social aspect is also very huge. Okay, so when you put this into perspective, there's if your child is not catching up, as we call it, right, not being able to cope with the schoolwork, and then you will have to deal with a lot of the mental stuff, right? Eileen has a question. So, question: why does grandson struggle with words like for man, but says words like stoplight? Right. So it depends on a few things, actually. First of all, man might not be as frequent a word that he hears, right? If you understand what I mean, right? There's a frequency effect. What we call it is basically how many times you hear something. Okay, no matter how easy the word is, if he hasn't been hearing that word like enough, which man, to be honest, for a child, I don't think a lot of children hear that word a lot, right? But stoplight, if it always happens that he likes traffic lights, or like you see it all the time out and about, then it's easier for him to actually absorb. All right. So for your grandson, evidently he's not a person with articulation problem, right? Because he can say the word stoplight. You're reporting to me that he can say it, meaning like I'm imagining that he can say it perfectly. Okay. So therefore, my guesstimate, my professional guesstimation tells me that your grandson, like a lot of children out there, and a lot of people like myself and you as well, is that the more you hear something, the easier it is for you to remember, right? And therefore, he might miss the M in a man because he hasn't heard it enough. So I'm sure with enough repetition, he'll get it, okay? And the other thing is he might not even know what man means, like what man actually means, okay? So that also doesn't help, okay? And the reason I say this is because when I'm trying to learn a word, if I don't know the meaning, then I'm just trying to try to remember the whole thing, right? Okay, cool stuff. And it doesn't really help someone remember the sounds, like break down the sounds. Okay, maybe your grandson already knows the word stop and light, and therefore putting it together is easy as well. Okay, so I hope that answers the question. Just keep on giving as many times, because man isn't a very functional word at like 2. Okay, so it doesn't really matter as long as the functional words are fine, right? So Lena says, yeah, Jay doesn't really, can't really do inferencing as well, only memorizing some picks, and we'll give the same answers. Yeah, we're doing that right now, Lena, with Jay. So Lena is actually my student. And anyways, so we've been trying to use like Mr. Bean and pictures, and then we're like putting it into like real life, talking about some of the stuff that's been happening in her life, and she has to guess why people are doing that or why people are acting that way. And that's also inferencing. That's high level stuff. And you'd be surprised. She actually knows a lot. It's just that she's sometimes she doesn't care enough. Number one. Number two is that she cannot really understand the drawing. Because a lot of the inferencing materials are in black and white, and it's made in 1980s or something. So if I use something that she likes, then it's actually not bad. But her guesses are getting closer and closer. So I'm happy about that. So Brianna says, my son is 4 and he struggles with the L sound. How can I help? Okay, so L is easy. So L, you need to check if he can put the tongue up top like this. All right. The tongue needs to touch the bony hard structure right behind the front teeth, right here. Okay. So L goes like that. You see if you can do it. If you can't, put the tongue up there. That means you have to train his tongue to go up first before teaching sound. So if you're teaching the whole word, I'll say lollipop, that's too long for him. All right. And let me give you an example because I'm living in Indonesia, right? So there's an R sound, which we call it trill. It goes like this, like that. But I cannot use it in a word because it's too fast for me. So especially at the back. So I need to stop a little bit and then say it. Like, for instance, if I say banjir, I need to stop, right? And it's not really that either. So for your child, you need to teach to put what we call tongue elevation at the behind the front teeth. That bony structure is called alveolar ridge. Okay, the name doesn't matter. Just do that. If you can't do that, try tell him to go left and right. Okay, don't go outside. No one speaks like that, and this is not a speech tongue movement, anyways. Right? Let's get him to go from tip to tip. If you can, slowly go up until he goes up to there. So it goes from diagonal, right, to up. All right, and you want to. This is the whole thing. The whole thing is that you put what's that called? A Cheerio up top here. And then, or anything that's round and easy to hold, put it up top here to hold the Cheerio up top, and then go like that. Okay, and then after that, you can teach him the easy L words, like what? I can only think of Chinese words at this point. But you can start with the easy vowels. You can go la, li, lu, le, lo, like that. Okay, that helps. I use it all the time. It works. Okay, so Sabrina says, my son is 22 months. He has yet to say mama or things I say every day, but will say eagles or play ball. He only has about 15 words, but can sing songs, right? Okay, so he hasn't said mom yet, but he will say eagle or play ball, right? And he only has about 15 words and kings. Oh yeah, that's great. So if people are inside this group or my page or channel, I mean, I've said this millions of times, right? The reason why, if someone would type the answer here, that'd be really cool. All right, that means I'm doing something right. I'm teaching people, right? So why this is happening, I'm not going to wait for an answer because it's going to take forever, right? So Sabrina, the answer to your question is that your child doesn't understand why he has to say the words that he doesn't know why he has to say mom. He doesn't know why he has to say the things that you say every day. The only thing that he says is that are the things that entertain him, right? That make him happy, right? Maybe he likes eagles. Maybe he likes play ball. He's got 15 more words. He can sing songs, right? So if he can sing songs, it means that there's nothing wrong with his speech, right? Because he can sing the words clearly, and therefore, the only thing that you need to work on is how to communicate. All right, and how you do that is pretty easy. You just get something he wants, and then teach him the necessary words to say, or the necessary gestures to do. So to make it easier for both of us, you can check out my micro course. Okay, it's agentsofspeech.com/micro. You can go there and check it out. Okay? In a nutshell, you just get something he wants in the beginning, and then get him to have his attention. Tell him to imitate some sounds, and you're off to the races. Because And now he clicks. He understands that by speaking to you or copying your words, he gets what he wants faster. All right. There's a reason why I have to talk so long, or I have to talk. All right. It's because I'm trying to tell you what to do. Right. I'm trying to tell you something. Okay. And I can't achieve that without talking. Right. So your son doesn't understand that. He only thinks that, oh, he can get whatever he wants. So Sabrina, my question to you, as a lot of parents, as always, what does your son do whenever he wants something from you? Is it like pulling your hand? Is it like trying to shove something into your hand, or is he pointing? All right. So, or does he just shout at you? Okay. That's something you have to bear in mind. You have to ask that question. If he hasn't used speech to tell you, then why is it that he's not using it? Okay. Is it too hard for him? Probably not, because he's singing songs. So he just doesn't understand the interaction. All right. Alrighty. Good. So keep the questions coming. It's been quite cool. For the parent who is in the micro course, she had a question, and I think she's here right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and talk about it. She asked me she didn't get it, so she sent me some videos about teaching her son. But then the thing is, the son was like crying and like kept on running away and stuff, right? Before I get to that, Sabrina has replied. Anyways, so Sabrina says, thank you. Someone was telling me he probably has ASD because he can sing songs but doesn't talk. He can also count to 3 and parts of ABC. Yeah, maybe not, but doesn't matter. And no matter what he has, or like whatever the label is, right? Doesn't matter. As long as you have something he likes, that he has a reason to talk to you. Right now, he doesn't have a reason to talk to you. So you need to find a reason. Okay, give him a reason, which is like a reward. Okay, yeah. So this kind of questions come up all the time. Okay, and people and parents who go through the micro course will ask me. I try to make it as simple as possible, but sometimes it does get confusing. All right, because each child is different. Okay, so the thing is, when you're doing something, make sure you're not always like, for example, if you're telling your child to do something and your child is not yet speaking to you, do not keep on drilling to tell him to speak. Like, say whatever, like say want, say I want, say give, say mommy. If your child isn't talking, do not tell them to speak, all right? Because you're setting them up to fail, right? You keep on saying it, you don't get a response, and you keep on repeating, your child's going to be pissed off, okay? It happens to everyone. Okay? If I asked you a question, that's super hard. That's super hard, and I don't give any hints, and I just keep on asking you and pestering you about it, then you're going to get pissed too. So don't do that. So instead, make sure that they get a win out of it, okay? And it's all about breaking the old habits and patterns, okay? So if, for instance, Sabrina, if you tell me how he does when he wants something, I will tell you exactly what's the problem, okay? Like he probably doesn't understand this and what you should do, okay? Just if you're still watching, tell me. If not, I'm gonna just go on to Tian, I don't know which one. So my daughter is 4 years old and not talking like conversation. She repeats what I say. What can I do? All right. So obviously your child understands what to imitate. She's like one level higher, right? And then what you should do for if she just keeps on repeating like crazy is you need an activity that you both like, that she enjoys, and she can come up to you and start using words to by herself. Okay, and probably is that my guess, Tian, is that your daughter is always like, she thinks by imitating you she will get what she wants. Therefore, she will never start by herself. So your job is to teach her to start. All right, and I'm guessing here. You can tell me that I'm wrong. Okay, I'm guessing that your child will only imitate when you say like something like, oh, what do you want, or like if you give her a look or whatever. Okay, so your job now is to teach her to say the word by herself And how do you do that is you find an activity or something she wants, and then you give a smaller cue, like a lesser cue. Instead of imitating, you might, like, if she wants carrots, let's say she's very healthy, she wants carrots, then you don't want to actually say carrot like that. You can say cat and then let her go on with it. Okay, but the problem with that actually is that you cannot really totally eliminate the cue, because she's always waiting for you to give the first sound. Okay, so what I sometimes do is that I keep on doing the same thing over and over again until I can eliminate the cue. Okay, so for instance, if she likes playing the swing, then I will keep on swinging her, like doing the same action over and over, like 10 times, right? So the first time I say, okay, swing, and then she says swing, good, and I let her go, and then she comes back, I catch her, and then I say, and then she goes swing, and then I say good, saying swing, and I let her go, and she swings back, and then I catch her, and then the next cue would be much shorter. I'll go like, if she goes swing, then I'll let her go, and she comes back, and then the last time I would stop and see if she says it herself. All right. And then if she says swing, then you let her go. All right. So the thing is about right now, Tian, is that you have to teach her to use the words to start with you. And those words needs to be different. Okay. Needs to be different. And it needs to be specific to the thing that you're doing. Okay. And if you want her to have a conversation with you, and there needs to be a context. All right. And that's why I talk about like using board games, using like a routine and play, so that both of you know what's happening next. And therefore, the only thing that she has to do is to say the word to do it. Okay. And that's the step that you should do. Okay. And obviously afterwards, then you can ask her some questions during the game, and it will feel like it's a conversation. All right. But you will still need a lot of work on generalizing. Okay. Which is not the topic of today. But anyways, do that first. Okay. Because if I were to tell you exactly the steps to go, I will have to ask more questions, and it's going to be a full on thing. All right. It's going to take a long time. But this is the thing you need to do first. All right. Get her to say it by herself without imitation. Okay. So Sabrina says, he usually will come over to me and whine. Okay. Like, okay. And he looks more at what he wants, but doesn't point. Okay, cool. So therefore, like, what I would do here is something I teach in the micro course, is teach him to tap you when he does, like when he whines, because it becomes a really strong routine that he whines and he asks what he wants, and afterwards he whines even more, and then you have to guess what he wants by looking at what he looks, and then, oh, you want this one, right? Say whatever, and he's like, he just keeps on whining. So obviously, when he's whining, it's impossible nearly to teach speech, right? Because he's already talking. He's already so teach him some gestures, right? If he's not pointing, then teach pointing. If you want to, you can teach some open palm, which is also from the micro course. Oh man, I'm missing it here. Yeah, go there and take a look. Right? I think it's pretty good for a child. Your child really suits all the advice inside, because he has no problems with speech. He sings songs, right? He can use words, just not words to you. So that's actually tailor-made. And a lot of children are like that. But for your child, because he just whines, don't teach speech during he's whining. Don't tell him to talk, because you're trying to talk over his whining, which is virtually impossible, right? It really is impossible. So when children, for me, when they're crying, I never, or whining or crying, I never tell them to do a speech task, or I never tell them to say something, right? It's always behavior first. So if you can tell them that there's a better way than whining, which is like by tapping you or pointing or putting the hand out, that is going to, if it just makes sense, right? It's less effort for the same thing. No one would do more effort for the same thing. All right, even a child, even an animal wouldn't do that, right? So as long as you show him how to do it, then it's fine. All right. So Danya says, what's the best response to tantrums? Ignore it or tell them no and to stop? My son is 3, limited language, receptive issues. Cool. So Danya, the first step you should do whenever you have tantrums is to like think about why. All right. You need to know why your child is doing it. And ABA people call it like functional analysis. It could be crazy, and speech therapy people say that, oh, they're already communicating, which is all true, right? They're already communicating. The tantrum, there must be a reason behind it. Find out why. All right. There are usually only like 4, right? Number 1, they want something from you and they're kind of like just telling you by throwing a tantrum, right? Number 2 is trying to escape from something. Yeah. And when it comes to escaping, if they tantrum and they can get away with it, they will just keep on doing it, right? And wow, I can't remember on top of my head. Wait, let me think. So there's like getting what they want, right? Escaping, and then I don't remember. But anyways, so Daniel, you have to know why. Can you tell me why that there's a tantrum? Because the response depends on why your child is throwing a tantrum. Okay, so for instance, for Tian, right? She says Zoe cries instead of talking or throws tantrum when she wants something. That's, bingo, number 1. So therefore, you should teach her a better way instead of throwing a tantrum, that doesn't involve talking, which is gestures or sign language or something that they can easily do at a heightened emotional state. Okay, so that's something you have to bear in mind. It depends on what the function is. Okay, but I have to tell you, Tian, like if Zoe is wanting something, but she cannot have it right now, then obviously then you have to teach some waiting. And because today I was talking to a client of mine, and she told me, I told her, okay, like because the main problem with that child was speech, right? So we have to do a lot of like mundane speech, like doing like the F sound, like that. But you have to do it. There's no way around it. Okay, and I told her that the motivation level is low, so we're going to use some food for rewards, right? But then here's the thing: the parent said, "Oh no, she's getting like really like she's having a meltdown, having a tantrum whenever we use food. So that's why we never use food. We just want her to sit down and we praise her, and she does it. Although she's like slacking off and whatever, she's still doing it, right?" And I'm like, dude, that's avoiding the problem. If your child melts down and cannot wait for food, then obviously the most logical thing is to address it, is to teach them to wait. Teach them that, by finishing tasks, they will have the food. Then you will have a very motivated person, right? Especially for very mundane tasks, right? And the reason why I teach a lot of this kind of stuff is because for parents, it's very difficult to keep it like fun, engaging with the activity and do something at the same time. It's 1,000% easier to teach someone like you, a parent, by using rewards in a very structured way, right? So that's why we use rewards. It's easier on you and easier on the kid, and we don't need to like create a crazy activity or keep it very natural, which is actually harder than keeping it structural, right? Yeah. So Danya says. Now she tells me the function, right? The function. When he's told no, but not every time, but sometimes it's hard for him to stay seated. So when we're trying to get him to stay still, he starts to get upset, right? Okay, cool. So therefore, when he gets into a tantrum because he wants something, right? He wants to get out and have a walk around, and when he's told no. Okay, so basically it's 2 things. Number 1 is he's protesting. Whenever you say no, he goes, he just explodes, right? Or when he's been sitting for too long, then he wants to get up. Okay, so what I would do is that you have to train him to accept a no. That's what I usually do. All right, so what I would do is something that I've explained to a parent and has worked, but I'm not sure if you can do it at home. All right. So it depends on what the thing he's asking for. All right. So for instance, if you say no to like going somewhere, what I'd do is I would say, no, you can't. And before he gets pissed off, I give him something. All right. It might be a snack. It might be like video time. I usually do video time because it's more natural. If I say no and I give him a snack, that's kind of like training a dog. I don't like to do that a lot. So what I would do usually is like, if a kid asks me, "Oh, Mr. Ming, can I go somewhere?" And obviously I know I can't do that. Then I say no, and then I instantly say, "Nice staying calm." Because you stay calm, like you don't need to say like such a long word. You just need to say, "Oh, that's calm. Thank you for being calm. Here, you can watch this instead." Okay, so you need to have like a fallback plan for him. So if he gets pissed off when you say no, then when you say no, like the instant you say, "Oh, nice staying calm. Thank you. Here you go. You can watch something, or you can eat something. You can drink something instead." All right, we'll do it later. Sometimes it works. All right, actually, most of the time it works. Okay, so you cannot just know him and give him nothing. All right, it's kind of like a protest, right? Then someone has a demand with you, like an employee, I don't know, and he say, "I want to raise my salary," and then you say no without any type of like negotiation. The situation is going to get worse. So for us, thankfully, children are easy. Just give them something. Like if the thing you say no to is like an A tier of something that he likes, give him something B. Like, for instance, if a kid really loves chocolate, you say no because you don't want them to cough. Then all you need to do is to just give them a B tier thing, which might be honey, I guess. That's a little more healthy, right? So the other situation, number 2 situation for Daniel here, is that it's hard to get him to stay seated, right? So what I would do is that he doesn't have a reason to stay seated. That's what I'm thinking. Okay, I've seen children who are said to be ADHD to sit like a whole hour with me, and the reason why is because we're playing and we're like watching something together. So whenever you can, you need to, when he's seated, you need to say, "Oh, good seating, good sitting, sorry, good sitting," and you give him something like, "Oh, good sitting, good boy. Let's watch something together, or let's play this together." And you're always praising him about like sitting, good sitting, good sitting, good sitting, good sitting, and it just goes drilled into his head. So he thinks that, "Oh, I'm a good boy and I like to sit." That's what we're trying to achieve, right? And we do that by praising and giving him like reinforcement, like rewards randomly. So he doesn't know when it's going to happen. That's why he's going to stay like seated, right? It's like buying a mark, like we call Mark 6 in Hong Kong, like like a lottery ticket. So we don't know it's random. We don't know when we're going to get it, but we're still going to try. So it's kind of like gambling, and we want the child to want to gamble with us and therefore to sit down with us, so that he wants to be seated. So you keep on praising him. Yeah, Dana says he loves to be praised. That's great. Keep on praising him. Good sitting, good boy. That's a good boy. But when he leaves, don't scold him. Do not scold him, okay? Don't say, "Oh, bad boy. Oh, you left your seat. Then you're not a good boy anymore." Don't do that. Only praise. Because children or humans in general don't respond well to criticism, right? They like being praised. And therefore, if he does something bad, just like ignore it. And then you try to give him something. You can like, if he likes, for instance, the phone, you can go like, let me watch. And then when he hears a sound, he comes back to sit down. You say, "Good sitting," and you give him the said desired item, okay? And it'll be much easier to keep him seated. Yes, Lena, she is a yeser. She is, in fact. Hello. Well, wait, I need to get your name right. Kausalya. Kausai. Oh, sorry, I don't know how to say your name. Anyways, let's go on to the next question. All right, Facebook user. I don't know who that is. All right, so it's actually, I think this one is actually from Asha, right? So Asha says, "My son is 3 next month. He can say single words. However, he is still quite delayed. When you take a toy from him or someone has a toy he wants, he will tend to headbutt and throw his head back." Okay, which is obviously dangerous. How do I go about getting him to stop these tantrums? He's not very good at following instructions. Great. So this thing is not something new. Okay, I've seen this multiple times. I've seen children headbutting other children, and there's a funny story. There's a kid who I was training to line up, because every time he would line up, he would headbutt each of the people in front of him because he wants to be first. So he goes up and goes, and then he goes back and he's pissed off. And the funny thing is, like, the other student who was like participating in the lining up, he was happy after getting headbutted. He's like, like that. So that's a good match. But anyways, let's talk about your son. Okay. So Asha, I think the problem is that he doesn't know how to. You need to be skillful about taking away a toy. All right. And I talk about this in the course, not the micro one, but in the full one. But what I mean is, if you take a toy from a kid, what you should try to do is to do it out of his sight, okay, or at least distract him a little bit, okay. And how I usually do it is, like, if I don't have a distraction, is like if he's holding the phone like this, I would put his phone, like, let me go down a little bit, like this, right? I'll put his phone on his chest, and I would remove his fingers, and I'll like just put it away. And this way actually works for some reason. I don't know why. You can try. All right, put it on his chest, and then when he's still holding on it, remove his fingers slowly and just like slip it out. Okay, that works. Right, it usually works 80% of the time. Okay, about the headbutting, then you can try some things. A lot of therapists will say, oh, you got to do some social stories, tell them a story about like headbutting is bad. But given the fact that he cannot say, he's saying single words, but he's quite delayed, right? So it might not work the first time. You might need to tell it every night or something, and he might still be like, whatever, I'm still going to headbutt everyone. The thing is, you need to stop him before headbutting, because every time he headbutts, it tells him he can do it. And when a behavior is tolerated like multiple times, it becomes in his mind, he will think, oh, I can do this. I can always do this. Doesn't matter. I'm going to do it anyways. So you always have to stop it. You have to intervene at that point and stop him from headbutting. All right. If he doesn't headbutt, then you can give him another toy, all right, or give him a snack. So my tip for you, Asha, is to keep a box of snacks with you, all right? So whenever you stop him from doing headbutting and his head back, for 1 second that he's still calm, give him a reward, okay? It can be anything, to be honest, as long as he loves it, okay? There's because the thing is, he cannot take a no, right? If you take something away from him, it's just impossible. The thing is, all behaviors that are like tantrum, there's always precursors, right? For your child, Asha, the precursor is that he hits someone in the head, he feels that, and then he gets even more mad. I'm guessing he will go on the ground, he goes like, ah, or something like that. So the first step is you should stop him from headbutting. That's the first step. And when you stop him, instantly give him another reward. Distract him. Okay? That's what you should do. All right? This is actually, let me see. So she keeps on saying, like, Asha replies, he tends to take out his frustration on me. Anytime he's upset, he will headbutt me. And when I tell him no, then he will hug me. Am I encouraging the behavior by hugging him? Yes, you kind of are. And you know it deep in your heart, right? In the hearts of heart, you know that you're not supposed to, but at the same time, you're trying to soothe them and you don't know what to do, right? I see this in a lot of parents and a lot of teachers as well. So what you should do in this situation is always keep him at arm's length, okay? Put your arm out, and if he comes to you, if he cannot, like, usually what kids do is they bully their moms a lot, right? If they cannot headbutt a kid, right? Or after they headbutt a kid and they get even more frustrated, they will run to you and like headbutt you and stuff. So what you should do is always put your hand on his chest, like here, because your hand is very long. He can't possibly headbutt you from that distance. Okay, so he's going to try other things, right? He is going to try and like bite you or something. I don't know. Some kids do that. He's trying to bite you or like slap you or something. You just have to keep him at arm's length until he calms down, when he's okay, and then you can hug. All right. Or else what you're doing is that every time you're hugging him after the event, you're rewarding it. Okay. It's kind of like a how to say, like a relationship that isn't like very, it's like a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship that isn't very constructive, you know what I'm saying? Like after a fight and then they get all like lovey-dovey again. It's not that great. Okay. So don't do that. Right. Don't do that. Try to stop the behavior. If you can stop it, reward him instantly with an external thing. Don't give him like a hug or something, because he might do something to you. Okay. If he does come to you, keep him at arm's length. Okay. Push him on the chest. All right. Hopefully, this is something that will work. All right. So, oh, right. Yeah, I remember. All right, cool. So you spoke to me on a consultation, right? He is not repeating my gestures, getting very impatient, ends up crying. On the other hand, brushing his teeth is much easier now. Great. So the thing is, you have to help him finish the gesture. You cannot possibly hope that he will just copy you, right? So for instance, if I am like facing you and I tell you to do like a very crazy dance move, right? I can't think of anything right now. Okay, for instance, like it can do a wave, right? Like this, right? I've been practicing for a long time when I was a kid to do that. So if I tell you just copy me and you can't do it and I keep on telling you to, it's impossible. All right. So what I would do if I were you is that for the gestures, I'll just take his hand and do it once only do it one time. You don't need him to like do it himself. For instance, if you want, like we were talking about open, right? So, which is also in the micro course, by the way, shameless plug. But anyways, so you can go take his hand, go open, like that, do it, and then instantly say, yes, nice doing open, because you helped him do it already. Open the thing, give him something, close it, and then try again. Keep on doing it, but only keep it to do it once. All right, only do it once. That one time includes the time that you help him with. All right. So there's no possible way that you will have a hard time with a gesture thing if you help him finish it. Okay, help him finish it. It's gonna take some time. You might be holding his hand for a very long time, And what I mean by a very long time, it might be like 20 times you help him do like the same action until he just suddenly starts to go like that. You go like, oh, hallelujah, like here you go. That's nice doing open, right? And after that, when he can do the gestures, and then you can add the speech. Okay, so I'm very glad to hear that brushing teeth is much easier now, given the tips that we were talking about last time. So great job. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying. So Kausalya, oh man, I'm so sorry, I'm butchering your name. Kausalya, please tell me if you understand what I mean. Okay, take his hand and finish it for him. Okay, go do that. Great stuff. Alrighty, so we're coming to the end of our little live here. It's 8 more minutes. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to keep on talking. If we have questions, then I will answer them. All right. So don't be shy. Please put down your questions in the comment section. I see today a lot of you have, so I'm very happy about that. On the note of doing it only one time, right? You're very welcome. Anyways, on the note of doing it one time, I want you to imagine that no matter how many times you push your child, and you've done it many times already, he's not going to do it anyways, right? So do it one time, make it as stress-free as possible for your child. No matter what kind of goal you're trying to do, always set your child to like succeed, right? You have to think, if he hasn't been imitating you anyways, how in the world would you think that he would the next time if you don't help? And my former boss used to say, and he taught me a load of stuff, he would say that, hey, you didn't even help him, right? I'm just repeating the same instruction over and over again without any help. And that's not cool. That's not cool at all, because it's not, my job is to help. And therapy, at the root of it, therapy or teaching, is to give, select the right target to teach, which is within the grasp, right? Just enough for them to learn it, and also give the appropriate help. Okay. So if you're talking about, like, for instance, let's talk about like lifting weights or doing yoga per se. If all the time you start with a handstand, no one's going to want to do yoga. You're going to start with the easy stuff, which the instructor can help with. All right. So for instance, like some stretches, I don't know the yoga terms. I don't do yoga, but like some like there's the intermediate to hand stance, right? You do it on the wall, you do it like halfway, and the instructor helps you a little bit. That's what I mean. You can't tell your child to do a handstand. Sometimes saying a word, repeating a word is a handstand to the child. That's why they're so frustrated. That's why they're running away. That's why they're slapping you, right? Think about that. So Tian says, when is your next live chat? This live chat is every Monday night, my time at 9 p.m. I'm living in Indonesia, right? And if you're in USA, that's in the morning. In the morning, I believe it's 9 a.m. EST. If I'm not wrong about the time zones, right? So Rika, hey Rika, long time no see. Rika says, sorry, I'm late. Maybe no. Don't be sorry. My son is 3.5 years old and still unable to have conversations. Sometimes he repeats what we say, and he always saying, I want this or I want that. Cool. So what's your question? Yeah, tell me your question. But from what I see, Rika, this is a huge improvement to what we were talking about last time. So great. Tell me what your question is then. I don't know what your question is. I guess that the question is you want him to start conversations. Yeah, there we go. A conversation. So we were talking about, like in this live, we were talking about a conversation. You need to find something he wants, all right? Like an activity that he likes, right? And there's different types. So a lot of children here, a lot of parents here want the same thing, right? And same as Tian, who is from Tian, because you're from Jamaica, I'm guessing. Are you Tian or Tian? Let me know. Anyways, so everyone wants to know about how to like encourage a conversation, because a lot of children, if they go therapy, a lot of therapists teach them, I want whatever, and I hate I want, because I want, you're just teaching one thing in front of what they want, right? So it's not really that functional, right? So what's the difference between saying like him coming up to you and saying, Mama, phone, right? And the difference between Mama, phone and Mama, I want phone. The difference isn't big. There's only I want. You made the whole situation the same thing. Like the whole situation even harder by adding I want, like 2 syllables. And they can't say like you want or daddy wants or like I eat or I drink. It's just I want, which is very useless. I don't like that. So anyways, how do you get him to like start a conversation? Do silly things, okay? Do as many silly things as you can that makes them like go like that, right? So what I mean, like if you have a currently, like if you're using a toy, or you need to tell me what kind of toys that your child really likes, So for instance, if it's a car slide that my student likes, I will try to put different things that doesn't fit in a car slide, right? So, and then you can tell them different functions of language, not just requesting, not just I want this, I want that. They need to learn different functions before they can use it in a conversation. All right. It's just as, if within the sport, you need to know how to shoot, you know how to pass, you need how to dribble. And right now, your child, if he only knows how to like request, he probably only knows how to shoot. So he doesn't know how to like comment. He doesn't know how to tell you, ask for clarification, doesn't know to tell you that you're wrong. These are different things that you need to do. So for me, what I would do for now is like find the toy that your child really likes and start doing really silly things with it, right? Or maybe like put a tissue paper down the car slide, put a huge truck onto the car slide. And then you can teach him. Now when he goes, no, when he says no, or he looks at you and pushes your hand away, you can teach like too big, or it's wrong, or doesn't fit, up to you. Right? When you start teaching these words, it's going to make a lot of sense. So Rika says he loves numbers, writing, and basket. Oh, okay. Well, I don't know what basket is, right? But anyways, he loves numbers and writing. Then write the wrong thing. Write it upside down. Write it with the wrong hand. Write it with different, like with the cap on. Like if you're using a whiteboard, put the cap on and start writing. Okay? And then you can teach him, it's wrong. You have to open, or like open first, right? Or I don't know, Rika, you're in Indonesia, right? So you can say buka dulu, right? So you can teach these things, make it as silly as possible. Okay, if it's a basket, I'm guessing your basket to put things, right? You can baskets are hard. You can fill the basket to the brim with like useless stuff. Yeah, you can do a lot of, I don't know. It depends on how your child really. Oops, press the wrong thing. It depends on how your child plays with your stuff. Okay, but for numbers, you can put them in the wrong order, right? You can put the numbers upside down. You can like if it's like the magnetic ones I'm talking about, right? And you really have to think outside the box and make things fun and make things silly, so that there is a chance for you to teach something other than requesting, right? Oh, basketball, right? Sorry, yeah, basketball. All right, so maybe you can like if you have a little hoop for him to like slam dunk and stuff, you can flip it up. You know, you can get a bigger ball that's too big to shoot, yeah, or a ball that's too small to shoot, right? Or you can make the ball deflated, like not enough air, right? That's something you can do. Or you can just keep on like getting his ball away from him, and he has to say, no, please don't, right? So you have to, if you want your child to have a conversation with you, the first thing you need to do is to teach him like more ways, more functions of language. You cannot only stay at requesting, which is very hard, by the way. That's why I see a lot of kids who go to therapy. They just keep on saying, I want, and if they don't want and they're already playing, they don't talk, right? So Rika, I know you're in the course, so you can go check out the language facilitation part of the online course. It talks about how like you need to, if you want your child to start talking, you need to give him the ammo, right? You want him to start shooting with words. You need to give him the ammo. So how you do it is like, you can do it very naturally by telling him what's happening when he's playing. Okay, just say the words. All right, and if he likes it, then he will start talking for sure. All right, and that's probably all my opinions for now. But this skill is difficult, you know, like finding things to be silly about. But the easy way, of course, the slow and easy way is to keep on talking and don't ask questions. To start describing everything at the level of your child's language. Okay, if Rika, your child, is speaking in like 1 or 2 words, which he's saying, I want something, then say everything, describe everything that he's doing in 2 words, and 2-word sentences. And slowly he'll pick up the vocab. Slowly he'll feel, oh, you're actually narrating and teaching him some words. He's going to use it. All right. But the fast way, of course, is to like disrupt his everyday life by like, putting forks upside down, like giving him a broken thing, giving him, the iPhone locked and like, maybe no battery or something. These things will trigger him to want to talk to you, right? Or it's funny enough for him to want to comment and laugh and point, right? That's the fast way, but it's hard. The slow way is to like keep on describing until one day he's like, oh, I get it now. I get all the words. I'm going to start talking. All right. There's studies that say like you need to do it like 1,000 times for 1 word before he starts using it on his own. So don't give up, guys. So that's what I'm going to end this live with on this note. Okay. It's always about repetition, but it needs to be the correct amount. Like it needs to be the correct level. You can't just tell them to do a handstand from the beginning. You gotta chop it up and make it as small and easy as possible that you can help with. Okay, so that's it. If you have any more questions, you can put it in the chat. Thank you, Rika, for taking my advice, and do try it. Remember, if you have any questions, we're always here. You can join the group in Facebook, and if anyways, you can just comment and I'll reply you. Okay, so I'll see you next Monday. You can so Dan, before we leave, right, didn't know that counted as conversation, right? It starts like that. Okay, it starts like that, Dania. All right. And for you guys, my wife was just whispering. She was saying to say Merry Christmas to you all. Because the next time we're going to have this call, it will be over for Christmas. So Merry Christmas, guys, and have a great and happy family time at home, wherever you are. We've got a lot of people from all around the world here, and we'll start talking next time. Okay? Goodbye.